Hello, I'm Dr. Michael Semeka, and today my guest is Kimber Stallings. Hello, Kimber.
Hello, Michael.
Welcome.
I'm glad to be here.
I'm glad you're here. I'm a little excited. Does it show?
No.
Oh, good.
No.
You
seem bored.
I'm trying to become cooler because I just think that being cool is really cool, but I'm so not friggin' cool. I'm like,
I don't think being cool is really that cool.
oh, thank you. Thank you. Well, then you're going to love me. So tell me about yourself. My wife was asking about you, and I said, I have no idea how to tell you about Kimber. So she'll watch this video. What are you going to say? Who are you? Give it to me.
Well, I'm from here.
Mm-hmm.
Typical, split parent, typical Southern, his, mine, and ours, both sides dysfunctional, toxic. We all got it. I did hair for 25 plus years. Very appreciative to the industry, but was very glad when I was able to exit it.
Mm-hmm.
And I exited it in 2019, which was perfect, right before pandemic.
Wow.
So that was nice. Spirit took care of me in that. Since then, I have been developing my psychic abilities that I tried to squash my entire life due to doctrine and the way society talks about psychics and things like that. And I was told it was of the devil. So I've been developing and working on that, and it has been beautiful. And so with that, of course, Spirit, if you haven't decided to plug into Spirit and heal some stuff, it's like therapy boot camp.
Wow.
And even us meeting, I learned this morning and on the way here, has to do with some healing that I have to do. And you're even a part of that, which was wild. But yeah, so that's what I do. I do some tarot readings. I do some intuitive counseling. That's a safer word than psychic counseling, which is really what that is. And yeah, all the things. Oh, and I'm writing a book and already have a publisher for that too. So we're doing that.
Do you have a working title? Do you care to share? Or is that a bad thing to do because somebody will beat you to the punch? Or
yeah, I'm kind of scared because everybody keeps saying how clever the title is, and I need to
yourself.
Yeah,
keep it to yourself. Anything you want to do to pitch it already?
Well, I can say what it's kind of what it's about.
Please.
It's a memoir, and so in the past recent years, I'd say 7-ish years, I've become overly obsessed. Well, I wouldn't say overly, but obsessed with anti-racism and systemic racism and all the things. And I didn't know why I got so obsessed with it, if there was going to be a purpose with it. But I mean, I've read I'm still taking classes, and I'm in a philosophy class online right now by Cornell West, and just on and on and on. And that Spirit told me I'm writing a book. And the book is really about growing up in the Jim Crow South, white, green-eyed girl from Atlanta, and many generations were from Atlanta of our family. And there was some KKK in our family.
Wow. How far back?
An uncle and a grandfather.
Not far back at all.
Not far back. And probably further even more. But I knew of that. I was...
Did you know of them? Did you meet these people?
Oh, yeah, I know my uncle and grandfather and grew up at Nanny and Pawpaw's house, and all the things. And I never witnessed them being a part of whatever, but they definitely are pro all of that and paid money to support it, to that organization. So, yeah.
Wow.
And then I have Dad's side that they weren't as openly racist like that. Dad's side didn't say the N-word and things like that because my grandfather was a preacher. My dad's very straight-laced. But then came the doctrine that supported the systemic racism. Like interracial relationships are a sin. Things like that. So you're still getting it. You're just not getting this openly.
Isn't that the irony of that? If you think about interracial relationships, that we talk about how love wins and love heals, and here they are taking the actual solution, which is what we're needing in this world, is to come together in love.
Proximity,
right,
yes.
and learn how to make it work. And in making it work, we become a more emerged, evolved society. Yes. And isn't that incredible? So question about this whole devil thing with psychic abilities or intuitive abilities. Did you ever buy into that when you were younger? Was that something that you bought into?
Yeah, I had, it's kind of crazy how, my parents had me at very young age. And they split still very young age. Still not even 20 yet when they split. And so dad came from this straight-laced, and mom came from very much not the straight-laced. We have generational alcoholics, abuse, a lot of stuff like that. And so I had very different influences. So on dad's side, yes, it was of the devil, but on mom's side, where Nanny is she had abilities, but she was told she was crazy and sent to psychic wards more than once. Like my mom remembers Nanny going to, so over here, it's when I would mention anything to Nanny about any abilities or have a question, it was, you don't talk about that. And then on daddy's side, it's if you're seeing your great grandmother in your bedroom, that is Satan disguising himself to steal your soul. That's incredible weight to think Satan's that overly motivated to get my soul. I mean, I must just be horrible. So with that, you just squash it. And I tried to drink it away. I tried sleeping pilling it away. I tried, and it got menopause, kicked it into overdrive, which I've learned through joining psychic communities and stuff is very common for it to get kicked into overdrive through pregnancy and menopause and even puberty.
I bet you're 30 too. What do they call it? Saturn return? Is that what it is?
Right. Yeah.
There's certain initiation points.
Just shift your energy.
Absolutely.
It got me to the point of I was feeling very schizophrenic. Like I was seeing, there was one night that I actually saw people walking through my house that looked as real as you. There was no see-through. There was no only in the corner of my eye. It was, who are these people walking around my house? But I had such extreme brain fog at the time, and that's how you feel with spirit. It's almost like you're high without smoking. So I didn't, like I would right now, get up and run out if people were, you're just like looking at it, and there's like kids sitting at my dining room table, and it was crazy. So it was either I'm about to check myself into a hospital, or I got to figure it out. And because I had upped, the drinking just wasn't doing it, so the drinking got too much. And so I just completely quit that and found myself in a medium's office. And the second I walked in, she was like, wow, you came with a whole host of people, and started just naming and I just felt freed. Like, oh my God, that's it.
I'm going to ask you a question, but you don't have to answer it. Okay.
Okay.
So this could be too personal, but did you ever go to a psychic hospital? Did you ever really explore that? Were you ever in that situation?
Go to a psychic person? No, I never.
No. You like go to.
Go to a no.
Good.
No.
Good.
No. I actually, in my 20s, my first piercing of the veil, where I knew what I was, but just didn't know what to do with that, was me and my daughter walked into Barnes and Noble near Cumberland, the big 2-story one that used to be my absolute favorite bookstore, and there was a table display where there had been a book signing that morning where the author had been there. So I walk over to the table to see what this book was, and it was called Talking to Heaven by James Van Prague, who's a pretty well-known psychic medium. I didn't know him then. And so I read the inside cover of the book, and my whole world shifted, because it just it was like a couple of things he said about when he was a kid, and it just was an exact mirror experience where I was like, holy shit, I'm not alone. And we didn't have internet and all that kind of stuff at this point. Only Richie's had computers and internet and all the stuff in the early 90s, so I couldn't explore it that way. So I bought that book and about 7 other books, spent my probably bill money on other metaphysical type books, and went home, and I've been obsessed with it since. But as far as being able to figure out how to control it, it was more of a curse when you don't. And I didn't know how to develop it. So I was reading all these books about other mediums and their experiences, but nothing was teaching me rituals and exercises and things to do to actually develop it. It was just, high five, there's others like me, but I don't know what the hell to do with that. And so it was more of a curse because I couldn't control it. And doing hair, and I'm feeling everybody's energy. And as you've seen on TV, even hair salons are hustle, bustle, bustle. There's a lot of energy everywhere. And not knowing how to shed that off when I would go home. Not knowing what to do with the information I'm getting about people, the sadness I'm feeling from the people. So it just kind of stayed a curse until I found myself on that medium's floor. and she gave me tools and recommendations and suggestions, and yes, come back, and like I'll mentor and help and answer questions, and that was it, and it just took off.
So what once was considered a curse ended up becoming a gift, and that was because
100%.
of your own awareness.
100%.
Oh, that's beautiful. So do you have any idea what you're doing here right now? Like, why are you and I sitting across from each other and recording, and why you're so like open to this? I mean, what's going on? Like, why are we doing this?
I don't know like the exact answer. And even when I have ideas, when I think I know things, and I can say this, I keep thinking I'm going to be wrong about this at some point. But every single time I try to guess why I'm here, wherever it is, 100% of the time I'm wrong.
Right. That's beautiful.
So it's like, fuck it, I don't know.
I love your humility. That's friggin' beautiful. I'll tell you why I have you sitting here.
Okay.
Number one, I met you through Liz. Liz just told me about you. I guess you're a part of the Gen package, I think. So, and I haven't met her yet, and I'm really excited to meet her. But as soon as she mentioned Kimber, for whatever reason, maybe it's my psychic abilities.
Yes.
How about that?
Yes.
Something was like, oh, I want her number. And what was cool was that was like months ago, but it never went away. And so every once in a while, your name would come up. I'm like, oh, no, I'm seriously want her number. And there was one time with Liz, it was really fun. She turned around and she was going away. She was going on the boats and she was going to be gone for a while. And I said, don't forget to give me Kimber's number. And I said, you know what? Never mind. I'm pretty resourceful. If you don't get it, I'll get it. And she didn't give it to me. And I went to look you up and I couldn't find you. And I was like, oh my gosh, I couldn't find you. I was like, it was like really humbling. Like, just like saying what you just said. Whenever I think I know, I'm usually wrong. Well, she came back and she was like, here's her number. And it was like, oh, she knew that I needed to go for it and fail before she was ready to give me the number. And she didn't know any of that.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
Yeah.
And then I called you and I was like, oh my God, whatever it was that was going on in that little time on the phone, I was thinking, okay, I have no idea what you're going to say, but do you mind if we say it on the tape? Because I think it's going to be like something worth eavesdropping. And I'm feeling like other people that see this are going to get something out of this. Mm-hmm. Get to know you, get to know me, get to know this dynamic that we don't even know because we haven't been together. This is the first time we are physically sitting apart from each other. So so basically I want to let you know, she walks in the door and I walk her down here and I show her the studio and I'm showing her the cameras and everything. And you're going with itness is off the chart. So I really appreciate that. But what do you get, about me in general that you want to say, and maybe possibly about us? Is there anything at all? Like, why is this exciting me? There's one. How about that? And am I in this alone, or is this a reciprocal relationship? Is there anything exciting or encouraging in you? And do you even know why that possibly could be, or would that be a guess? I mean, what do you want to say just to show off your wares?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say the way Spirit shows it to me when, like you said, why am I so excited to be here? It's because Spirit has made you excited. Spirit, when you're plugged in and you're going with the flow of Spirit, not go with the flow of what everybody says we need to go eat, going with the flow of Spirit, they give you the desires of where you're supposed to be and they turn the desires off where you're not supposed to be. It's called having a bad vibe. I don't want to be there. Doesn't necessarily mean that's a bad person. It just may be that Spirit saying that's not going to be a good friend for you. Y'all don't have anything in common. It could be anything. So you're excited because there's something big here and Spirit's having us here for a reason. The same reason I've been excited since we started talking. So yes, it's going both ways. And even on the way here, just the excitement and butterflies and the nerves and where I just knew that's where I'm supposed to be going. Because that's how Spirit speaks to me now.
Okay.
And I have found that every single time I've trusted Spirit and trusted my gut, it has not once led me wrong.
That's beautiful.
And every single time I have fucked shit up, it has been when I've ignored those red flags and those whispers.
Wow.
Every single time. Because if you'll look, because you're very intuitive, and Spirit has already told me that yes, you are intuitive and you have amazing psychic abilities. When shit has gone wrong, tell me you didn't go, I fucking knew it.
Well, I can't say every time, but I have a pretty good batting average because there were times where I actually said and meant it. Wow, didn't see that coming.
No, I've had that too.
So that's just considering those moments that are right now, as you say that I'm being reminded of. So I can't say I'm batting 1,000, but I'm batting enough that I'm surprised by, oh, I didn't see that coming. It
Right,
actually
yeah.
surprises me.
Like,
you
yes,
know?
I've had one that went under the radar is how I
Right,
call it. I'm like, I
right.
don't know how that one slipped under my radar.
Well, I say I'm supposed to. It's part of the contract. You can say
Yes.
whatever you want. Like when I agreed to this, it needed to slip under the radar.
And it's true, because
Yeah.
the biggest mistake where I look at it that way, where I'm like, how did that one get past me? I learned the greatest lessons of my life during the ending of that, and learned how to fall in love with myself and become my own true best friend.
That's beautiful.
And stand on my own feet. You know what I mean? So yeah, you're right. They slipped under your radar because Spirit had a lesson to teach you, and we got to get you there. We can't just be walking around as gurus from birth to death.
Right.
You don't learn anything.
So when I ask you a question, do you have a sense whether you have something right now, Spirit talking to you, that there's something that I'm going to help you and you know what specifically, or is there something you're going to help me that you know specifically? Do you already, is Spirit talking? Is there more enthusiasm going one way or the other for you right now? And what can you unpack?
What I'm getting, like with you, is really multi-layered. Like there's more than one purpose for our relationship. One, there's something to do with all of like you videoing this, and this is like, it's going to catch on. Even if it helps just one person, there's somebody that's supposed to be seeing this besides us.
Time out. There's no way you're going to just say that and move on. That is so me to a T. Like I've been doing this for such a long time, and I post videos, and I have really learned to appreciate 14 views. I don't care. I obviously I would be more ambitious in marketing because I know that I'm really awesome, but I don't need more. It doesn't necessarily mean I don't want to serve more people who would be served by me. I do. And that's what this is all about.
Yeah.
I'll leave it up to Spirit to get it to whoever and how many whoever's. And so I love that you just put that out. So thank you for letting me go. Continue.
Yes. So, and yeah, like one might touch 100 people. One person will view it, but it might change put their life on a completely different path. And that's why we're here. Two, I learned this morning, and it was kind of rough, and I even struggled with, am I going to be like, but Spirit said I'm going to be talking to you about it. I didn't know it was going to be in camera, but I'm not saying I mind that. I have some trauma to unpack from childhood that I thought, we always keep thinking we're past it because it hasn't been triggered, but I didn't realize that I still have, or just the thought of being alone with a straight man was going to trigger it. And so I was having all this anxiety about coming. I'm like, what is my problem? This was this morning. And so I got in the shower and questioned Spirit. I'm like, what's the deal? What's going on? Typically anxiety is my way of saying I shouldn't be doing this, right? Like you're putting the negative feeling in me. But Spirit, every time I would question it, Spirit would take me back to our session video chat and how I felt in your energy. And they're like, that's where Spirit was. Like, now you're being like, there's something else. And so I'm like, okay, it's a trigger. What are you triggering? And it was the being, and I'm even going to your house, this was like and it showed, and I very much was feeling like I did as a kid and unprotected in that moment in the shower. And so I knew, and so Spirit told me on the way here, we couldn't have found a safer straight man for you to heal through this.
I have said to many people, women, I am so glad you're working with me because I'm a man. For that very, 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 very reason that you just said. And I don't know if I can even take credit for being a man. I've joked about this most of my life. I fear that it might be true, that I am a lesbian trapped in a man's body. So the fact that I like women, because I love being around women. And I have been, you want to call it the sacred feminine? I have been a champion. And not in a negative way, and not in a way like people talk about, oh, he's a cuck, all that stuff, cuckold men. It's not even about that. It's that I can't not see the divinity in you or in women. And I do think there's an amazing gift to be seen by a straight man, but there is a little joke in that. I do believe the joke might be true.
Yeah.
That, I've been joking my whole life about this because
Well, we'll do a past life reading. I have a past life spread we'll do and see if maybe we'll pick up on a feminine lifetime.
Right. All right.
You're a chick.
I just saw a video of me in like 1989. No, that's when I moved here. So it had to be like 1986. And I was in this company doing theater. And it was a dance skit to What a Feeling, if you remember Flashdance.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like the only guy in there. And then I finally found another guy. And I was like, oh, wait, I don't remember being the only guy in that. How is that even possible? And when I watched it again, I was like, oh, there's John. Okay, I wasn't the only guy. Because I'm thinking, like, how would I not remember being the only guy in this very talented company? Because it was called Red Stocking Review. And there were equally a lot of men and women in the Red
Right.
Stocking Review. But in this one performance, I was this very tall. I stood out because I'm tall. And and so you can't stop but see me. And I had all this energy, and I was not anywhere near the best dancer there. But for whatever reason, Mary Ellen Barnes, the choreographer, decided that I was to be in that number. And it just made so much sense. And I was like, wow, I didn't even pick that up then because I had no idea back then and when I was still living in New York. And now, it's like the brotherhood of the sisterhood or brother of the sisterhood. And I got a T-shirt with that because I get invited to Sacred Sister, the Soul Sisterhood. And I love being there. It's something about like, I feel like I'm invited into the ladies' room. I'm like, thank you.
Yeah.
I feel really honored. Like, I don't even know what I did to deserve to be here because trust me, I'm still a man. I still have manly thoughts. I mean,
Right.
like, why am I getting away with this? Because, things that you don't like about men, that's in me.
Yeah.
But I've learned. And so I had this one line about like, it was true. I had this one line when people talk about like, what is the term that they use? When a man looks at a woman and they say what is the term when you're seeing her as physical? You are, got it. You're objectifying me. You have people who are, and I could turn around and I could say like, oh my God, that's horrible. And so and I have that tendency of seeing somebody go, whoa, hello, when somebody walks by. And so then I realized, okay, why am I getting away with this when I am very much a, animal when it comes to that? Like I still have the same reflexes
Right.
that heterosexual men have. And I came up with this line. If I agree to you that says that there are aspects of me that definitely are objectifying, will you also give me that I also hold you in the most highest regard and that I respect you and that I'm intrigued by you and I want to get to know you just because you're amazing? So it was sort of like guilty with an explanation. Like
Right.
I think that is the difference. I think that there is an element of me where I see the divine and I do see women in their highest. And I did think they're there anyway, but I see it, in their highest essence. And it doesn't matter whether they're struggling, because even if they're struggling or if they're lashing out at me, let's face it, I have a lot of women that don't like me because I'm on TV, I'm a man, and I've got a lot of women coming to me and men.
Yeah.
But they don't trust, and that's okay. I'm really okay with that. But there's a point where I have had to make peace with, oh, this is part of my appointment. This is part of my contract, part of my agreement. And so when you said what you just said, I was like, oh my God, thank you. I mean, whatever I'm doing to make you feel safe. I mean, especially bringing you into my house and into my cave and into my studio and we shut the door.
Right.
Whatever I'm doing that's making this work, please, Spirit,
Yeah.
may I continue to do this and don't ever make me freak her out. Like, I want you to feel safe. And so if you ever feel like there's a bait and switch, like the first phone call, it felt good and that got you here. If you ever feel unsafe, please tell me and say like, you may not be aware, but right now you're kind of freaking me out. Please let me know. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that is kind of how you're making women feel safe, because you say things like that and you give us the impression of that we can say something.
Right.
Like I don't feel like if you went in for a hug and I wasn't feeling it, that you would be weird about it. You know what I mean? Like I do get that vibe that you are, and that's the thing. Like you're like, why am I in this club? Why am they letting me in here? I'm a hetero man.
Right.
It's because even though you do have those things in you that make you like the things we don't like in straight men, because you see them, acknowledge them. That's all that's required. You still will feel that way when the bombshell walks across the room. That's just, you're a man. But you see it and you recognize that, oh, don't objectify. I hope she didn't see me look at her ass. You know, like, don't, you recognize it and therefore so therefore you're safe. That's kind of like, it's not like a minority is just saying that they want all of us to like them. It's just recognize that there's things in the system that are against that. Like, see it. Don't be asleep. That's it. You know, they're not asking me to be a perfect person that's completely aware of everything, but just notice the parallel universe and how that one's treated differently. And then now I'm safe.
I think this was a clinic right here. I think that you helped men that watch this to really understand, you know, the how-to, you know, how to get the kind of results that I get. And the reason why women are comfortable with me, I think you just nailed it, to be honest with you. And I couldn't put that to words. So thank you for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You were actually saying something, and I felt like because I had to talk about that. You were getting emotional about your process and about, is there more you wanted to unpack besides the fact that you're safe here? Can it be that I'm a man and we're together and that be enough? Or is there anything else that you're needing to unpack?
I don't know. Like what, I just know that that's part of it as far as being around you, and so that healing will be happening in me while we're also blowing, you know, doing this stuff. And I even think my book's part of that too, part of all of it. Like, I just think that there's a lot. I think we've known each other before, and I think that we've collaborated before, and I think that's what we're going to be doing on what? I don't know, but Spirit's got, what I get is Spirit's got it done, planned, and they're up there right now just like,
yeah,
finally, yay!
Your guys and my guys,
yeah.
You're having a party up
Welcome
there.
back,
Yeah.
welcome back. Yeah, they're like ready to get this shit going.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That really is good. Well, I just want to let you know that I felt amazingly complete after you said that. I just wanted to make sure your experience was that you were complete, because I do feel whatever is going to need, that you feel that you need to work on, it's going to really work in the background. We call that in the blue, you know, it's spirit, in the spirit realm. And so it's not like you have to put any cerebral or mental energy into this. A lot of people do, but not you. Like, I think you're a kind of person that will allow this to work in the background, and work in the background it will.
Yeah.
And so, 100%. And that's nice that you can let it be that easy, and you can get the benefit from just us sitting together and you having voiced what you voiced. And that was enough. Yeah. I really believe that. And then obviously the schooling that you did after that, you know, the recipe for success for other men who, you know, really, and I hope that there are men out there that are not listening to this and wanting to use it in manipulative ways. You understand? Because that's
I totally understand that.
No, and that's a problem, because, and I want to address that, because people who do things in manipulative ways, they get the natural consequence of being untrustworthy to relate to. And this is what happens when you're very aggressive with an agenda. If you're trying to work on something, that's where evil, that's my definition of evil, is when you're too aggressive with an agenda that you lose your humanity. And if you don't realize that this is a sensitive topic for a lot of women, and you're going to use this maniacally to exploit the fact that you could be successful with this, energetically, people like you are going to find out, and it's going to come through, and you are going to be labeled, whether it's conscious or not, but unsafe to relate to.
Absolutely.
And if you're really okay with that natural consequence, go ahead, be as maniacal as you want, be as quote unquote successful as you want in manipulating women and helping them feel safe, when all you want to do is, you know, take advantage of them.
Right.
So I really wanted to give you, I mean, I don't think that's a warning. I think I'm just telling you the truth. I mean, it's a natural consequence. If you're going to play around with this, talking to the men who would, you know, how to pick up women, you know, kind of thing. If you don't really recognize women and who they are as far as sacred beings, let's just go with that. Like, you know, what they're carrying, what they're representing, you know, and what their promises to the future. And if you can't recognize that, or you don't see that organically, you need to choose to. You need to choose to want to see that, so you can open that up.
Yes.
Is that good? I mean,
yes.
Okay, cool.
A lot of awakening that I've learned from my own work has to be so intentional. Like I call it lazy evolution. We can't have lazy evolution anymore, where it's just wait for life to bring you stuff. Learn from the stuff you learned from the divorce. You learned from whatever, because it happened to you. You've got to try. And the way we feel, people that have been traumatized, and you feel unsafe around certain people because that's who traumatized you. you have to intentionally try to see it from our view. You can't. I know you're among the stronger half of the planet, so you don't know what it's like to go on a jog and feel unsafe if you hear a man come jogging up behind you and your stomach gets in knots. So men have to be intentional with that evolution. Read a book.
Right.
There's a lot, like talk to your wife, talk to your sister, talk to your mom, talk to your grandmother. Talk about when they were a kid and they felt unsafe, or when they were smaller and felt unsafe before they were married, or whatever, or in the marriage. I don't know. Like, we've all had trauma in different places, and ask them how it feels.
I don't know if there's a single woman that hasn't had trauma in the sexual realm. I mean, even if nothing happened to them, people can feel someone's intentions or thoughts or whatever.
100%.
And that could be so unsafe. And there are people, I think there are so many people that have said, oh, I think that I was abused, or my uncle or my father or stepfather or whatever. And these people would, now whether they were innocent or not is irrelevant, whether they physically did anything. I'm not sure if it's really necessary, because,
It's not.
Right? Because I think that people can feel the the intention and whatever, that energy, and it'll skeeve you.
Yeah.
It'll be like, oh, what the heck is that? I mean, that doesn't feel good,
Yes. An example sort of that I can remember clearly as a kid, and it was right here in Cumberland Mall parking lot. My mom was dating this dude, and this was the last date, but we were walking across the parking lot. Me and I have a sister that's 3 years younger than me. I was probably 9. And he made a comment on that I have really long legs and how that'll be super beneficial one day. Now, I'm 9. I heard him. I didn't know what it meant, but I did.
You felt it. You knew what lane it went in.
Yeah, I didn't know exactly what long leg chicks, and that was a big.
Right.
I didn't know
but
that.
You felt the energy of it.
I felt the energy, and I felt naked. If that I wasn't, but I felt
uncomfortably naked.
Yes, like I needed a blanket to wrap around me, and so yes, and that's traumatizing. I'm 50, and I still remember that like it was yesterday. So yes, all of that is traumatizing. You don't have to lay your hands on her. She can feel that.
Right. But that's why I think that there's so much confusion, because women haven't given themselves permission to validate that experience as that was enough. If you can feel that, and that really is, quote unquote, for your age, an inappropriate thought being directed at you, and you pick that up. Of course, when you grow up, that's still unresolved in you, and you're going, was I molested? And it's like, well, sort of, on one level. I mean, but they just didn't know how, they thought they were getting away with it. They think we're separate, but we're not separate.
Right.
But you could feel all that.
Yeah, that is a very good point that I've never thought about, because for me, because there was times that it did cross that line, and so I allowed myself that healing. But you're right. That still stood out, and women think, well, I mean, I wasn't touched. I shouldn't be blowing the whistle. Dear Lord, all these other, it is traumatic. Carly, my daughter, talks about one time in a parking lot I was with her, but an old man like pulls up with his truck and whistles at her. She was 12. She had the body of a 25-year-old, but she was 12, and that's still there, and he's an old man. And now, after that, of course, I came around the car and screamed, "I'm going to have you arrested," like a wild banshee. But she still felt that. And that wasn't the only time she felt that. So, yeah, that is also traumatic.
Don't you think that is that way so that we really do what we need to do to kind of, quote unquote, fix this? I mean, to get it right. It's almost like homeostatic regulation. If there's something going on, how the body kind of self-regulates if it can, and keep proper balance. And we know the world out there is aberrant, especially sexually, especially toward children. And don't you think it's that way because we as a community have to really address this like more cohesively, coherently? Like we have to get to some, what do they call that? Like there's a critical mass.
Yes.
Where more people are aware of this and adjusting properly in the direction where it needs to go, so that the field can now represent something different. You understand? Like we all have work to do, and we have to grow in awareness about all this so that this can be corrected. We can move on. We can emerge. We can evolve. And I do believe we need to evolve. Otherwise, it's just going to keep on happening.
100%.
Cool. I'm glad 100%. You said that.
And I think like we need to, like, even I love that we brought up, and again, I love that none of this has been planned. And talking about, You don't have to be touched. This also would free up the young mother who hears the comment about their daughter. You don't have to wait for him to touch your daughter. You can tell him that that's completely, and defend her as if he did touch her, because that just changed her somewhat.
Well, now they're having a come to Jesus meeting, right, within themselves. That's the whole pitchfork on one side, right, and the halo on the other. And they have to, because there's so many times that women, for whatever reason, protect men. And I don't understand that. Like, they'll almost invalidate their daughter's experience, or they're not really advocating to making the place uberly safe for their budding daughter. And that happens a lot.
Yeah.
And that's because of what do you want to call it? Unresolved work that they have.
Unhealed trauma.
Unhealed trauma. There's some neediness. They don't want to lose the man. Yep. And so what happens? All of a sudden, because you're not doing your work, you're handing it off to your child. That's what ancestral
100%.
Pieces are. I mean, that's what happens when you say it's familial. You know what I'm saying? Or hereditary. I inherited
100%.
this. It's like, well, yes, because your mom didn't really have your back for you. But you're right. But
she was told she wasn't worthy.
Right.
And so, of course, who she birthed isn't as worthy. So it's just, it passes on and passes on.
But isn't it interesting that there is that line, what you resist persists, and you may not even know that you're resisting it. Like, the mom may not even really not know, because maybe they can get away with being numb or get away with sweeping it under the carpet.
Yeah.
But what if they couldn't? What if they were like getting to that level of awareness? And I do believe that's where the field comes in. I like the term unconditional entanglement. That we get to the certain point where they would have to know. They have to plug in. And it's not because they did their own personal growth on awareness, but that as a community, as a world, the field, the consciousness, that we've gotten to that point where it's like, oh no, like you are with spirit.
Right.
Like, you could feel it, the fun part. And I do think that we all have to do what we're doing to get it there, to hit that critical mass. I really believe that.
No, I totally agree.
Okay, cool.
Getting information like this out there, whether it's us or somebody else, it's like there needs to be a paradigm in how people see it.
Right.
A shift. And the only way to do that is information, is education, is getting it out there, so that it becomes so common that you would think it's crazy to see somebody objectify a little girl and just be insane. Like, that's just so yesterday.
Right.
Kind of
exactly.
like swastikas that you don't see.
Right.
That's crazy. Like,
right.
It needs to get to that point. Yes.
Right. And it becomes policed immediately inside the communities, plural. It's almost like where people understand, no, you're off the track. You cannot get away with that. You might have in the past, but this isn't the past, I call it forward healing, by the way.
Yes. Yeah. I think it's time to be more communal. Mm-hmm. Like, we've gotten so separated as far as, chasing the Joneses and our jobs and all our busyness and our kids and our this, that we're not communal anymore. We're not doing the villages raising the kids. We need to, and that's why we're all asleep. Mm-hmm. And we're not seeing it.
Right. You and I are doing so much that I'm curious if anything new is being opened up to you. If spirit's coming in and go, well, in lieu of all this stuff that's being touched, this is what I want you to talk about.
Not like new right now, but I did know, and now it makes sense. Like, on the way here, when I was having a hard time with the anxiety and stuff and the triggers, I knew that that's what we were going to talk about. Like, they even kind of showed me us that I'm going to expose. And I was just like, that's kind of weird. I don't want to come off like a crazy person. Like, hey, dude, you're triggering me. And that's how I talk to myself. And they were like, no, we've got it planned out. We got it. And I get reminded that again. But of course, when you have anxiety, your monkey brain, that's what anxiety is. But I knew that was going to come up. Like, I just knew whether it was going to be before, because I was emotional. I was crying even in the car. And so I was like, I'm going to look like a crying idiot and come on way too strong. Like, this lady is nutso.
Now, wait a minute. You are nutso.
Well, yeah. Well,
I mean, come on. There's got to have some pride for your nutso, but ye with so little faith in trusting your process. You have moments where you absolutely can be so enlightened where you can trust your process, and other times where it's like, okay, Houston, we definitely have a problem here.
Yes, I am a little batshit, but that's okay.
Oh, I love that.
But yeah, so
you.
I did. Yeah, I do too now. But so I did know that was going to come up, whether it was on camera or just us. But I love that it was on camera, because I do think, I know with women that's huge, and it's a huge issue, and I feel I actually feel lighter that I just shared it, and whether just one woman sees it and is like, oh my God, I feel the same way. I too am nervous, and to understand her anxiety. You know, a lot of years I didn't understand my anxiety around men. In the workplace, most men that I worked with were gay, so that's okay. They're safe. And I never enjoyed having men clients doing hair, even though I had a ton of them, because now I know why. And a lot of times in the last salon I worked at, it was a much smaller salon, which I loved, and I was working alone a lot, which I loved, like, because our schedules were so different. And I would get that same anxiety with some of my male clients, even ones where I knew it wasn't a bad vibe about them. Like, because if I had a bad vibe, I didn't schedule you when I was by myself. Like, I followed that intuition. But it would just be the whole time I didn't understand why I'm not having fun with this person I do like. And the conversation's going well and we're laughing, but there's just this other level of anxiety that makes it unenjoyable, where I feel like I needed some wine the second he left, or something, where your eyelids are twitching. And now I know why.
A lot of people will say, well, I've done this work. I've worked on this before, and so it should be done. Well, there are two factors. One, there's a law of diminishing effects. You need to repeat the process, like water or sleeping or whatever. For you to really get it, since it's as traumatic as it is for you, then don't beat yourself up if you need more than one dose or two doses or a lifetime's worth of doses, because each dose is an act of self-love that you give to yourself.
Yes.
When I got my own back now. I can do this. I can say, okay, it's safe, or it's not safe. If it's not safe, move on. That's having your back. Or it is safe, breathe. And I think that that's really, really important, that you especially have your own back, because that's really what this has been about. Like, you are a force in and of yourself. And it's like, I'm so glad to be here, because the other thing I want to tell you, the second part, is about like processing something poorly. If you process something poorly, it's not really processed, because what happens is, that's the density you're talking about. It stays in your body, like what you resist persists, because it stays there until you get to see it in its proper light. And when I say it's happening for you, not to you, I mean being able to sanctify it and recognizing what the calls are to answer for you. And when you really get what the call is to answer, and you answer that call, well, then it can leave your field. And once it leaves your field, it feels amazingly light. And that's when you've resolved it. And then if it gets heavy again, you can go, hey, what did I say that made that really light? Oh, that's right. And then you got it again. And you have to repeat that.
Perfect description, yes.
Good. I really wanted you to get that, because I think that a lot of people go, I've done so much work. And I really need you to get this, that processing something poorly is not processing it. And how you define whether you processed it poorly or you processed it accurately is it will be lighter. And the only way you can make it lighter is not just to say it's happening for a reason, but you got to specifically acknowledge what that reason is and how it's benefiting you, not to allow anybody who's abused you to justify it or to almost endorse it, or to, you're not like standing next to it and going, yeah, that needed to happen.
Right.
It's not about that at all. It's about realizing that this is the only way that we can do the work that we need to do as a community, as you were saying, is for each individual to, I love the term, mature it up, to process it well, going, well, I am meant to make a difference in this world. And this experience, as much as it really sucks, this isn't my experience exclusively. There are a lot of women who experience exactly what I've experienced. And so we have got work to do. And I know personally I can do my part. And the way I can do my part is, do you mind if we talk about you for a while?
Yes, but I totally agree with you. Like, I've become, like you're saying, uncomfortable in the world. It's not supposed to suit us. It's kind of like you're not supposed to be so thrilled to live at your parents' house when you're like 17. That's why it becomes rough, where the parents are like, when is this one leaving? Well, if we were all happy as crap in that setting, I'd still be living with my mom, because she did great laundry, right? So also in the world, yes, spirit triggers us and makes us uncomfortable to where you hate certain situations and make you see it, and then say, hey, the reason you don't like it is it's your job to change it.
Now you're giving the right word to it. It's called the wake-up call. So, hey, wake up. So the idea of this is that it happens so that you can see it as holy. I guess that's what I mean. It's like when something is dense, it wants you to wake up and address it. It doesn't want you to ignore it because you're not allowed to ignore it.
Right.
And I don't want to lecture. I just want to stop
And it'll
there.
just bring it back in another way
Right.
if you ignore it.
Can you save me and get me out of this? Because I right now feel like I'm talking too much. Help me.
I don't know what to say.
Oh, you too, huh? Well, I don't know what to say, but I say it anyway. That's the difference between you and me, is I'm just talking too much. So let's end here. Let me just say thank you. How do people get a hold of you?
Social media, Kimber Stallings on Facebook, and my profile picture is sunflowers right now. That's the Ukrainian flower, so that's why it's my profile right now.
Check you out.
Yes, very caring person. And then Instagram. And Instagram is Pitbull in Heels.
You could have led with that. That works.
That's
That
also
works.
my email, pitbullinhills@hotmail.com.
Oh,
So
that's perfect.
yeah.
Where did that come from?
I rescue pit bulls, and so I love them. And I have been known for a temper in my unhealed days.
Oh, I thought you said in heels, like you're standing in pumps.
I am.
Oh.
No, that's what I'm
when
saying.
You said unhealed days, that just confused me.
No, I'm saying because I did have a temper, people would call me a pit bull, and so Pitbull in Heels is where it came from.
That's great. Well, I really enjoyed this. Thank you very much. Looking forward to doing this again, and appreciate you.
Same.
Okay, Godspeed, baby.
This is fun.
Thank you.